Hello, you guys. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know I haven't talked to you guys in a while. I've missed y'all. Right now I'm on government shutdown, so I keep multiple streams of income. So I do have some work I'm still doing, but I have a little bit more free time. I wanted to come talk to you guys. I was trying to wait until this verdict was read, right? Before I come talk to you guys real quick. I got to pick my granddaughter up from daycare today, so I'm not planning on being here long. But I had to stop and get something for her before I go pick her up. So I just wanted to come talk to you guys real quick. I was gonna wait until after the sentencing in order to come talk to you guys. But it's a lot of manipulative rhetoric going on, and I just wanted to give my opinions, my comments about it. Um, so it's a lot of people. When Nyla talks about Mammy Mountain, I hate to endorse like stuff like that, but it's a lot of people on Mammy Mountain. Now, for those legal minded people who are making uh, the solid opinions about that everybody has the right to be defended, I understand all of that, right? But when you try to throw terms like grace and mercy and everybody's done something wrong and all of these type of manipulative lingo to try to make people think that a person shouldn't be accountable for their wrong actions, that's when I like draw the line, right? It's one thing to say, according to man's law, everybody deserves a defense. Hey, Queen Keisha, hey, boo, how you been doing? It's okay to say everybody deserves a defense according to man's law. That is absolutely right. But divine justice and divine law don't always work like that. And what some people leave out when they give you these spills on grace and mercy is that sometimes divine law uses man's law in order to correct a wrong, right? So for all of those people who can make a case for what is probably about to happen, hey Miller, hey girl. For all of those people who can make a case for probably what is about to happen, which Puff getting years, they can try to make a case and say, well, everybody's done wrong, everybody deserves a second chance, everybody. This man has had second chances. According to God's law, he's had second chances. He knew what he was doing was wrong at the time that he was doing it. So how do you know? Just like you can try to make a case for people given the second chance according to the scripture. Well, I can make a chance of divine law using man's law to intervene and stop this man from doing any more harm. It's a case that can be made for that too. Any harm to himself or anyone else. God's grace and mercy was already sufficient for him when it spared his life based on the type of crap he was out here doing to people. The man should be stretched out 12, 24 feet under the ground, okay? um, you say if he had remorse, he would have. I absolutely believe that. I think that's why the judge kept trying to warn him, Queen Keish, like you're not taking any accountability for this. You study lying, and then your lawyers and your attorneys write all of these motions and put all of this crazy shit in emotions. Hey, Just be, hey, bro. Your lawyers put all this crazy shit in motion talking about other people lying while at the same time they using their snake ass split tongue, double-minded selves to lie about his activities. So while they trying to accuse me of lying and this one of lying and oh we was in a romantic loving relationship and it was just a toxic loving relationship, while they doing all of that, right? And then accusing these other people of telling these lies, you're lying about what your client was doing in motions. Lying about what he was doing, not taking no accountability. You ought to set this man up to do a event as early as Monday. That is showing the arrogance, the narcissism that this individual got. And so if the same way that these people want to talk about grace, mercy, and God's divine law and his ability to grant grace and mercy to whoever, he can also use his divine law and use man's law in order to give divine justice, right? He can also do that. So we gotta stop with this, oh, well, everybody's done wrong and everybody deserves a second chance. This man has been given more than second chances. He did not make it to this court case based on him just doing one mistake. This has been years and years and years of mistakes, of him getting away with this type of stuff. None of the behaviors, which is why it is being brought into the sentencing, none of the behaviors that he had been accused of in this trial did they deny. They denied it was a RICO. The jury determined it was not a RICO, but he never denied the behavior. And the behaviors that he displayed are relevant because prostitution is often a crime that requires somebody to be coerced, controlled in a situation. And so when you look at the egregiousness of his behavior during the time, the length of time that this prostitution was going on, that now they're trying to say wasn't prostitution, they were just paying for time. That's the same excuse most escorts use. And most of the time, guess what? They get away with it. This time, they didn't get away with it. And so he is being held accountable. And the same people that are trying to talk about grace and mercy, giving this man a second chance and letting him walk out that courtroom today, the same case can be made for why grace and mercy already spared his ass because he still got his life. Because if it had been somebody else's daughter, somebody else's grandchild, somebody else's sister, this man might not even be standing here talking to y'all today. And then y'all will be sitting here advocating for something to be done to those people who did the wrong to him when he's been responsible for the wrong. His actions could have ended the lives of people. That's bottom line. The stuff that he did could have ended the lives of those people in the process of them doing something that he was pleasurable to him in multiple ways. It could have been through the transmission of sexually transmitted disease. It could have been through when he was beating on somebody that they would have come to their end. And nobody is thinking about the gravity of that, the nature of that. In these cases, that's what a lot of people don't think of, because in patriarchal societies, they teach us to have all of this grace and mercy for men and to bash the women, that they are the ones responsible. It is the same thing I say every single time that I talk about the parable when Jesus was teaching in the wilderness. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees brought a woman to him and told them that that woman was committing adultery. Well, you didn't bring the man. Where was he? He wasn't brought before the judge in order to make a judgment on him. You only brought the woman. And in today's society, that is exactly what some of these movements are trying to correct. And has some of this stuff gone too far, some of what they've done? I believe absolutely, but not all of it. And in this situation, I don't believe, and in several other situations, I don't believe so. I believe that this is a way that justice is being administered to correct what these men who have power, prestige, and money have done wrong. And should their white counterparts and any other culture, men of other culture, be as responsible? Yes. But I'm not going to advocate for them to get off. I'm going to advocate for people to go after those people too, right? That's how my advocacy works. My advocacy doesn't work in reverse. Let everybody off. Let everybody do it when it's wrong. When you know that it's wrong. When you know what kind of situation this can create in community. It's the same thing why I don't fault the Democrats for agreeing for the government to be shut down. Shut it down. I've experienced the shutdown before. I experienced the Obamacare shutdown. When they shut it down for that, I was okay with that because it was trying to get healthcare for people. And I'm okay with them doing it, trying to save healthcare for people. People do not understand the effects on community. They only look at isolated situations and don't see the trickle down bigger picture. When you take healthcare away from people, you are creating a healthcare crisis. You have to think much bigger than just yourself and your small people or who this impacts. What if he would have killed one of those? What the discretion that one of those women, the discretion that judge has to take that into consideration. The God extended him grace and mercy when he didn't die for what he did. And that goes to all of us. That goes to everyone. The scriptures say that if it was not, if it was only for God's mercy that we would not consume. So his mercy and grace don't got to go no further than sparing your life. His life was spared while he was doing all of that. But sometimes God takes man's law as the part of his divine justice in a situation. And this man ain't taking no accountability. You said, but I guess he gotta get the redemption. Let me see. I don't know what's wrong with my thing. I'm trying to see this thing. You said, yeah, but Carla, it's easier to focus on the big picture with the shutdown when your check doesn't come from the federal government. Mine does. Mine does. But I always have multiple income streams. So yeah, and at the time, same thing when it shut down because of Obamacare. Same thing. I was in the same. This is the second one for me. So this not a new rodeo, right? But and I understand what people are saying. But just be, you got the same people on the other side that if the Democrats would not have done this, they would have got backlash either way. Either way, this would have went. If they caved in and signed the bill, if they didn't, if they did, they were going to receive the same kind of backlash on both sides because these people are distorted. They are absolutely distorted. You said, okay, I didn't know that about you. I'm called a power. Yeah, like this is not my first rodeo when it comes to a shutdown. And so I understand that sometimes you have to do what is right. If it was not for that shutdown with Obama, we would not have received some of the healthcare protections that we now enjoy today that some generations don't even understand because they never lived in a time when they didn't have those protections. But I'm telling you, if healthcare is taken away, pre-existing clauses are going to start popping back up. They already started when Trump in his first administration started to break down and dismantle some of Obamacare. People don't understand how this is going to create healthcare crisis because people do not change their behaviors. You are going to see increase in infectious disease, communicable diseases, and because people are now going to no longer have access to the medication, to the treatment. Like the problem that this will cause is far greater of a fight to me than what people really understand. We got a generation of kids who don't even understand what pre-existing condition is. Some of us but remember Ron White and being before Congress trying to fight in order to get the proper health care and the proper medication for his crisis and the crisis of people like him. You said, plus the Democrats are so damn pussy when these people outright say, exactly, Just B. That's what I'm saying. So the thing is that they have to make a statement to say, we're trying to do something to fight for the people. And we know that it is going to be a negative impact on a lot of other people, but we have to try to do what we can in order to try to show that we are trying to fight for the people. Like, this is the lies that they are telling about how this healthcare, who's going to benefit from it, it's just so many lies. It's too many lies. So like I said, listen, that man gonna get what's his just dessert. This man might be getting ready to get his just desserts. There are other people who have gotten their just desserts, and grace and mercy don't got to extend no further than the sparing of your life. If your life is spared, but you got to deal with the repercussion of your action, God already extended his grace and mercy that while you were yet a sinner, he died. That's the extent. The plan of salvation, that's grace and mercy. But we don't know how God's divine justice is working in this moment and how he might be working on the behalf of the people who other people are trying to not see, people who people are not trying to hear. You said, wait a minute, let me say here. You said RFK Jr. is going to give all of us all of y'all rickets and polio. Glad I'm safe over here. If they shut down for good, I'm getting a backup plan. Yeah, it's that I always knew from that first time. I always had a backup plan, but from that first time, I knew how important my backup plans were. You know what I'm saying, Queen Keish? Like I never took for granted the fact that I had a backup plan, because from that first time, I knew how it works. And the thing is that and it was a different scenario. It was a slightly different scenario for me the first time than it is this time. And I really wasn't going to recoup nothing at that time. So I knew that I needed to keep that in place. Like a lot of people will give me a hard time about how hard I work and but I do it because I have to have a plan. You know, I've been in situations where sickness has allowed me to not always have that backup plan. So as a result, I always make sure I have that plan. But yes, absolutely, Queen Keish, it is always important to have some kind of backup, because things just are not. We take for granted the security that we have, right? With our employment, some of us, like some people live in a hostile employment environment daily, right? So they know what it's like. This is not anything unusual for them, and this is why some of those people who have dealt in hostile employment situations, why they don't have so much empathy, right, for the people who are now in this situation, because they know what it's like on a daily basis to live in a hostile situation where you don't know if you're going to really have a job from one day to the next, right? But a lot of times government workers just believe that they have job security. And this has shown us that that is not the case. It is not the case. And honestly, I think the plan, because I know what is happening, right? The plan is to move towards getting rid of Fed workers. They want to hire more contractors and get rid of Fed workers. And what they are doing in this shutdown might help them to move towards it. And so that's another reason why a lot of people, that's definitely, yes, it should be some type of backup that you have, because a lot of these places are not going to care what is going on with the government when the bills are due. I had some people tell me recently that when it came to their housing, like some elderly people, because this is the thing that people don't realize when they talk about housing and Section 8 and all that. These same programs are programs that the elderly benefit from. It is not just the people who you hear the talking heads and political heads on Fox News talk about being lazy and don't want to work and all this other stuff. The elderly benefits from these same kind of programs too. And so this is going to in turn potentially impact their housing, veterans housing, people who have. It's not about laziness. It might be about a disability. It might be about just old age. They are receiving these benefits and this assistance for those reasons. It is going to impact them. It is not going to just impact those people who people think are being lazy on Section 8. It's not going to just impact them. You said, Queen, you said salmonella, syphilis, hand and eye disease, walking pneumonia, Tourette's. Y'all are going to have it all. Exactly. As for Diddy, this is his third chance. He got away with those people in that club that was trampled and killed also the lady he shot in the face. Yeah, they're elderly disabled. Yeah, but this is the thing, Queen Keish, that's what I'm saying. How many chances that we don't even know about? How many chances that we don't even know about? But guess who know about them? The same God that these people keep talking about, grace and mercy should give him a second chance. God know it. And so how do we know whatever's about to happen in that courtroom is not God's divine justice? He's using man's justice for his own divine justice, for this man's own good. Like I said, he spared his life. Now maybe God is saying you need to sit your ass down in there some more and think about it. Think about it, because you still ain't got it right. And you can sit up there and write a letter with all that remorseful ass shit up in there, and you might fool some of the people, but you don't fool him. That don't fool him. Not when you sitting up in there and you won't even take accountability for what you did do. Mark Agnifilo took his ass on the TV and said that he told you go get that pardon from Trump. So you ain't taking no accountability no matter what that letter say. That letter sound nice and it's true. It's true. But all you doing is hiding in plain sight. You haven't taken no accountability for what it is that you have done, because that letter would have sounded slightly different had you taken some. His behaviors and what he would have allowed his attorney to present on his behalf would have sounded slightly and looked slightly different if he really was taking some accountability for what he was convicted of. But no, he believes that the jury got it right when it comes to not convicting him on the RICO, but got it wrong when it convicted him on the Mann Act. Like I said, he never pleased, never taking no accountability. You said, let's see. You said Sean did 10 years for him. How exactly? That's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, all of the people, like I said, he had a right to a legal defense. He had a right to a good legal defense to try to do whatever it was that they could do in order to get him out of this situation. That's what this American system is about. It's not about justice. It's about who can pay to get out of the situation, right? And sometimes even the people who pay don't end up getting out of it. And sometimes the people who don't pay end up being convicted in a system where they didn't do anything wrong. That's because it's not justice. It's not really justice. But when it really get down to it, right? He did something wrong. The jury convicted him on what they felt he did wrong. They exonerated him on what they felt he didn't do wrong. He is still not satisfied with that and couldn't bring himself to come to terms to admit that this is what he did. And in that letter he wrote yesterday, he is openly admitting that he did exactly what those charges say that he did. But then when you get in front of the judge, oh, Your Honor, it wasn't that. I was paying for the time. That's what I'm saying. It's a constant teetering back and forth that is letting anybody with good sense know this man is not remorseful for what he did. Not in the least bit. So maybe sitting there some more time will help him to really believe what he wrote in that letter. It is clear he's not, God willing, he's not going to spend the rest of his life in jail. That's what he was up against. Why don't you take that win and say, you want to know what? I did do this. So whatever the judge gives me from this point, thank God, because it wasn't what it could have been. Why isn't that the mercy and the grace? Why are we looking at that as the out that God gave him? The grace and the mercy that God bestowed upon him. Why does it have to be a complete walk home from jail today? And unless it's anything but that, that's going to be the only way God shows grace and mercy. No, God showed him grace and mercy by him still being here and his life not being taken based on what he was doing out here in these streets. That's what God already did for him. So if God don't do nothing else, people should be satisfied. But see, ain't no people are never satisfied. They are never satisfied. They always going to want all or nothing, right? That's just how this goes. Let's see, Queen Keish. Let's see. You said I don't know why my comments is looking like this. Hold on. You said he's not getting life or a long time. He needs to sit down and keep teaching him. And he needs to let somebody teach him. Instead of him always thinking he's teaching somebody. You need to sit your ass down and let some of these people teach you. Because he's going to encounter some people that got a little bit more experience with what he was doing. He's going to encounter some people whose domestic abuse went a little too far. And it might be something they can teach his ass while he's sitting in there, versus him always thinking that he's the one teaching every goddamn body. And this the other thing. People keep talking about, oh, he teaching. Yeah, this is why criminals go to jail and learn how to be better criminals, because they got criminals like him who got away all of these damn years doing crimes, and then they can teach them how to do it better. So how do we know that whatever he's teaching their asses in there ain't gonna have them criminals doing something worse than what they did before they got in there? I mean, people need to just be honest and stop, with all this bullshit. You said because most people are saying they have prostitution. It's not just that. This is right. Most people do have prostitution. People go to jail for prostitution. People go to jail for various sentences, for various lengths of times, for various punishments because of prostitution. Diddy is not the first person that is going to jail for prostitution. He's not. There are lots of people who have are in jail for prostitution. Pimps in jail for prostitution. Pimps who was beating the women who they were sending in to go to these jobs and killed one of them. That's the seriousness that the judge is looking at this with. Right there. That right there. Like the devaluation of the lives of the women who were impacted by this whole situation and the upholding and uplifting of his life, like this shining light, is gross. It is absolutely gross. And when it comes to that, I have to agree with Nala when she talk about people being on Mammy Mountain, because that's exactly how this sounds, straight up. Hey, Cookie Boo. Wait a minute. I don't know why. I cannot see my because he can't go 10 years without free calls, recruit more as soon as he get free. Exactly. He was ready to do it. He was ready to do the free calls when he was going in there. So why do you think the judge gonna believe you that that's not the first thing on your agenda when you get out? I thought I was helping out Jane. But through her testimony, I realized I wasn't helping. You knew you wasn't helping her ass at all. We could tell by them text messages you knew you wasn't helping her ass. You thought you was helping her by just paying for a $10,000 rent. Why wouldn't you help her? You such an entrepreneur. You in the prison teaching all of these men, all of these good things and all of this stuff. You knew helping her would have been giving her a permanent place to stay for the rest of her life, especially considering what she was doing for you. But no, what did you do? You paid a rent for her because you knew that would control her. Like this, that's what I'm saying. Like I can't. And he's still a multimillionaire. He's lucky he gets his exactly. Queen Keish, you said he's teaching because people are attracted to fame. Exactly. And you don't think that them inmates that's in there writing these? I heard one content creator, and y'all probably know what I'm talking about. Did you see all the letters he got from the inmates? And I have never seen nobody have all those letters from the inmates. And they was so touching. Some people is hoping they gonna have a job because they hoping they gonna get acquitted of the charges they in there for too. That man is in a jail. He's not even in the prison. Some of them people are waiting to go to trial. They are hoping that based on them writing them something, this is like the thief on the cross asked Jesus, remember me, Lord. Remember me when you get to paradise. That's what they hoping that Diddy is going to do. So you don't think that they writing that shit hoping that he's known for hiring inmates? And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I have an ex who's an inmate. I've got a son who is an inmate, and thankfully about to not be. So I ain't saying nothing about that. I believe that they should be given a chance of giving a job. But you don't think that's what's on some of these inmates' mind? Let me give him a good word, and then that way I know when I do make it home that I got a job, or I know, Lord, Jenny, remember me when you get back to your empire. That's what that shit is about. Like, when I hear all of this spinning, all this stuff, this is some bullshit. And I guess because I removed myself from a lot of the toxicness of it all, I can't tolerate it. I used to say it before, but my patience is really short for the shit now. Like, it's disgusting. And the thing is that I think even the people saying it know they full of shit. They know they full of shit. They know that they are nothing but media whores. You said he's lucky. Yeah, he's still a millionaire. Yeah. But you said hold on. You said he has to pay victims restitution. His kids are adults except one, and the twins are just turning 18. Why can't his adult son get a job? And that's the other thing, Queen Keish. It's like he still want them kids to be dependent on him. Like, you see how other people have, people in his position have made it so that their children are able to be self-sufficient. As children, they can be self-sufficient. What has he been doing to make sure that his children can function independently of him? I don't see nothing. What has he done? If he has done something, I'd like to know. But according to what we've seen unfold from all of this, he did nothing to make sure his children can be independent of him. So he kind of got them on the same leash that he had the other people around him. So you said they can get a job, but I support nepotism. you said they can get a job, but I support nepotism and aren't to blame. They deserve the money at minimum. To be to me, he should have set his kids up and then started a business and be. Yeah, it seems them kids is handicapped. That's my whole thing. I don't see nothing wrong with the kids benefiting from, what he's done and the empire that he's built. But it seems like that he has not given them an avenue to be self-sufficient. Now, this is the thing. I do believe that the girls will have a bigger potential to be self-sufficient. I believe that whatever the things that Chance is doing and how she's moving, even with Quincy is more self-sufficient. But when it comes to that Justin and that Christian, some was up with that. What was up? I mean, I don't see anything that they're doing to be self-sufficient. I don't see anything that they have acquired to help them to make it on their own. And this is the thing. So many of the other kids, I would agree with that form of nepotism too. Just be. When you look at so many other entertainers and their children, they have created avenues for their children to be self-sufficient. And they are still children. They are still minors. These grown people, like, you wondering, like, what is going on? It's sad. It really is sad. It seems like that's part of his control. Him knowing that he got control of their money is part of the control of not just the women, but of his kids too. But I do think that the girls are going to come out and be more self-sufficient than those two boys. Because, my God. Let me see. You said his mom is elderly and young daughters, they deserve start business, wanted them to live. They need to keep the money coming. Well, I guess that's why he want to go out and do these. You said, and the T is that Quincy ain't his blood. Genes are different. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Just B. That too. Because it's like Christian and Justin, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Y'all are two full-grown men. And the thing is that, but don't I think that is Diddy? I think that's part of his control. That's why I said I think that those kids have been somewhat victims of his as well, based on some of the stuff. Like I said, you see so many other people with the same status as him who have made avenues for their children to be able to become and be able to establish on their own. And you just see these kids like I don't know. But like I said, I do believe the girls are going to be different. I went from Chance to Jessie and Delilah and Baby Love. I think Baby Love got a very good, because she has a mother who has a good brain too, and so, and I with Justin, I don't know what that was, because Misa is successful. Like, maybe it was both Puff and Misa that got Justin like that. I can't blame it all on on Puff, I guess. Maybe it's both of them who wanted him to focus more so on trying to go to school, trying to focus on, other things. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. But all I know is that it looks crazy that these 30-year-old men, and they don't have a lane of their own. They don't have a lane. Like I said, Quincy has a lane of his own. You see Chance, she's in school. She's done a few little like pilot shows and stuff like that. I believe Jessie and Delilah is going to be successful and have some, if nothing else, just being able to model, if nothing else of theirs takes off. But I don't know. This looks crazy. You said, Queen Keish, wait a minute. You said, it's hard for me to see. You said Quincy's have been acting, the twins are modeling. Yeah, and I think they got some kind of clothing thing. I don't know if they started that a long time ago, but I know that I just recently seen a launch when he was acquitted of those charges. So they have that going on. And then, like I said, they will be successful at modeling, in their modeling careers, I believe. What is the other daughter doing? Chance. So Chance, she's in school. That's the one that he said went off to college, and that's the one who he said went off to college without him in the statement. So, but then I was confused because I know Jesse and Delilah graduated while he was in there. So I don't know. Maybe they waiting to go off to college so that he can, with the hopes that he'll be able to take them for their first day. I don't know. Because I would have thought that all three of them probably would have been in that situation by now. But I guess Chance is the one that is in college and had to leave for college without him. You said you didn't know Chance was acting. Yeah, she's done a couple of pilot like little series things. I don't think nothing like really, really big, but the couple I'm gonna post one of them. I cannot remember the name of the show. I gotta find it, but the little show she was on, but it was actually good, and she's pretty good because I think she did that one a couple of years ago, so I think that was before her turning 18. She's actually pretty good for a child actress. So, I think that she has the potential. I think she has the look and the potential to develop, especially based on like the way some of these shows now, like how they're formatted. Like when you think of like an All-American and stuff like that, the type of actresses and stuff that they get on those kind of shows, I think she would actually be really good for that. You said let me see. You said if Kim was here, she would not have Christian just living off Diddy and partying. So is Christian and Justin on, and Justin is the only one. Yeah, to me it seemed like it's those two that they are just like stuck. They can't figure out like how to make a lane for themselves apart from their father. That's what it seemed like to me. Hold on. You said after 4 years they gonna have to sell the houses or get more income. And you said yeah, she looks apart. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, well, they already was mentioning something about they thinking there's some kind of legal troubles, but rich people legal troubles is different than financial troubles. But rich people financial troubles is way different than our financial troubles. So it might be troubles to them to upkeep the standard of their life, but it might not be that bad. You said Misa needs to get her son a job. Yeah, I don't know what is. I think Misa is just trying to help do what she can to maintain her son's mental health at this point. Because I think that when it comes to mental health wise, in addition to Justin and Christian having difficulty just trying to find out how to take off apart from their dad, I think that their mental health is messed up from this. And I know people keep talking about the girls crying and stuff like that. They're kids, and that's understandable. But I think that as far as like when it comes to the fact that they are as old as they are, they haven't really created this lane for themselves like they could have. And I think they are like lost in a way because, and it's different. I think it hits different mentally for probably Justin and Christian than even the girls, because the girls are looking at like we lost our parent that was raising us, but these kids is already raised, and so it's probably some regret of not doing more to try to create a lane for themselves, not asserting themselves a little bit more. We don't know also what else was going on in the background. You said yeah, then they still need a guy, and the girls have mom either. Yeah, and they don't. The thing is that I know that I would be crying if my parent went to jail. To be absolutely. Like I cried when my son went to jail, right? But I knew as a mom that my son didn't do what they said he did, but he did some of what they said he did. And so as a responsible parent, I told my son, I didn't tell my son what the law allows him to do. Now, he could have chose to do that, and that would have been his choice. But as a parent who loves my son and is trying to teach my son the right, correct thing to do in life, I told him, you're going to admit what you did. That's what you need to do. Admit what you did and then ask for some grace and mercy. Don't go in there and talk about you ain't do none of this, and then now you want some grace and mercy for what you know you did. Like, and that's the thing. A lot of people's parents don't advise them that way because this system teaches people to lie. It's just the truth. It rewards people for lying, for not telling the truth. So you get up there and you lie about and say you didn't do none of this shit until the end, knowing damn well that you did it. Well, how do you think divine justice shakes that out in the Prince? That's what I'm saying. When you're talking about grace and mercy, that's a different standard than this American legal system. You want God to give grace and mercy to someone who sat up in the court and was okay with his legal team lying in order to get him off of some things that he know he did. But God's going to intervene, and his grace and mercy is going to cover this, and he's going to walk out that door. Well, divine justice don't always work like that. Divine justice requires you taking some accountability, not just in private, but in public. And so how do you know that this is not God's way of dealing with that? And trying to get this man to a path of being more honest and fuck what the system say you do to get out of something. You out here, you caught, you're red-handed, to be accountable for what you did, and then whatever happens, you accept it and you move on with your life. Straight up. But that is not something that is taught in to people, period. You said I would be crying. Yeah, okay, I read that one. Let's see. You said yeah. Then they still, I think the girls have a mom either. Wait a minute. Yeah, but must let our kids take accountability. You said, I think Chance would do the best. Her mom seems level-headed. Yes, she really does. And you know, Queen Keish, this is the bad part that that gets me when people talk about Sarah. Because so many talk about it and they are not representing the story in the right way. They are representing the story one way because somehow, just like Diddy tried to do with them women, he uses Kim Porter in order to try them women, make them women feel inferior. Some of these content creators and all of these other people talking about the dynamics in that situation, they try to use Kim Porter to make it look like that Sarah was inferior, when the reality is that he was dealing with both of them in a sexual manner simultaneously, and they both knew. Misa already did an interview where she put that out there, but you still hear people to this day talk about Sarah was Kim's friend. Sarah slept with the Diddy, and she had the baby anyway. Misa cleared that up and said, I was with him. Me and him was together. He was cheating on me with the both of them. The both of them knew about each other from rip. Misa says, I was able to accept Christian, so why Kim didn't want to accept Chance, right? But a lot of times the media, because they want to have a heroine, they want to have somebody that they can immortalize. They have immortalized Kim like she's never done no kind of wrong and use her to their benefit, you know, when talking about the other people involved. So yes, Queen Keish, I absolutely do agree with you. I think Sarah is way more level-headed. There was nothing in the testimony that made us think that Sarah was involved in none of that shit. Now, there was testimony about Kim being possibly involved in freak-offs. There was some assistants who talked about rooms being set up the same damn way. But there was nothing in the testimony that mentioned Sarah being involved in none of that. But there was something in the testimony that pointed out that Cassie was not just jealous of Kim Porter, but was also jealous of Gina and Sarah. But there's no mention of Sarah going to no hotel. So yeah, I do think that there is something way more level-headed about Sarah. I think it's part of the reason why initially, because before the twins went with Kim Porter's friend, they were with Sarah a lot and Chance a lot. I guess they were going like out of town, and then Sarah was at the house more trying to help with the girls. Like there is something more leveled about her. And this is the other thing, Janice. This is the other thing that people have spoke about in the past that doesn't come up recent. But Janice wanted more for Puff to be with Sarah than with Kim, and it was a reason behind that. Hold on, you said. Hold on, Queen. I don't know. Yeah, but we must let our kids take accountability. Yup. Hold on. Yup. Diddy's mom groomed him. coddled him in his life. And you want to know what? And it might be, she might have some remorse about that, Queen Keish. She might feel like maybe if I, you know, I don't know. It's possible his mom might have some remorse, like maybe I should have whipped his ass a couple of times, or, you know, maybe I should have not made him. I should have brought him down a little bit, you know. You want to? I think, because I know what the rumors are about Janice, but I haven't seen anything showing that those rumors were true. But I'm just thinking, like, as a mom, right? If I was in her shoes and my son was in this predicament, I would have some remorse about maybe where I could have done something better, or what I could have done to possibly stop him from being this far gone. You know what I'm saying? If anything, because sometimes the parent has absolutely nothing to do with how the child rears off. You know, sometimes that's just the child. You said Janice the one that got Diddy started in her life. She should blame herself. Yeah, Queen Keish, I know that's what a lot of the rumors and stuff say. I haven't seen nothing come forward that really like confirm it, but I've definitely heard those things too. And this is the thing, Queen Keish. Okay, what if, okay, let's say Janice was, the rumors about her running a brothel or whatever, all of that stuff was true, right? This was a single mom who was trying to care for her son. And I'm not trying to justify any of it, right, of her on her part. But you're looking at another woman that is in a vulnerable position and trying to do what she can to try to keep her son out the streets, trying to do, and she might have been thinking in her mind, I'm doing all of this for him, to make a better way for him. She might not have been looking at what effect that stuff could have had on him. But then he amasses this empire, and you're not doing none of this in order for survival. Like what Janice was probably doing was simply for survival, right? And not saying that's it's right, but that is the distinction, and that's another thing that people are missing when they are talking about the participation of these women versus his participation, right? Prostitution is a survival profession. Most people who go into that profession, they don't go into it enjoying it. They probably find some enjoyment from it after doing it and having to do it, but they don't go in. It is a survival profession, a profession people choose because they need to survive. And so it's possible that Janice could have in her mind said, this is what's going to help me to make sure that my kids don't fall into a stereotype. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm doing this so that they don't have to. And I'm not saying that that's right, but it's different than choosing it for your pleasure and choosing it for your survival. And that's what the survival of you and your children. You know, how can you when it comes down to a woman caring for her children, most women would do about anything. And considering the neighborhoods, options, and all of those type of things, when his father passed away, in order to maintain the standard of living, I could see a woman going to that, you know, to choose that in order to try to make sure that she can still maintain what she was already doing for the child, or to bring the child out of an impoverished situation. She probably did not think, hey, Summer Girl, how are you? She probably didn't think about, you know, what the long term was going to be. It was more so a meeting that short-term need of making sure my son can stay in private school, making sure he have uniforms, making sure he got the right kind of clothes, that he's not being teased. Like, these are all choices that Janice was making while she was doing that type of thing. And so could it have possibly left some lasting effects on her son? Yes. You know, and that's why, I mean, I say it all the time. We have to be more careful what we are doing in front of our kids, because we might look at it and say, okay, I'm just trying to give my child a better existence, but it might not be a better existence after all. Like, we might be making them morally void, morally bankrupt. you know, and that's the results of what we, thought we were doing right. And so I can give Janice some concession as a mom to say, you know, maybe she didn't think that it would come out like this. And so maybe she does have some sense of guilt, in the back of her mind, that she is somewhat responsible for some of the fetishes and things that he, was overindulging in and got carried away with. That could be possible. You said, I know, talking about the freak parties, it was going on a lot, but in the end, he makes his own decisions as a girl. Absolutely, I agree. Like I said, at some point, you can't keep blaming your parents. You know what I'm saying? You can't blame your parents. And this the thing. I have not heard Puff blame her. Maybe in private. We don't know what their conversation is in private. But I haven't heard Puff blame her. I haven't heard him confirm none of the stuff that other people have said. So it's very well possible Puff don't even blame her for it. But in some of those images, seeing some of that imagery too early, that might have had some impact on him. Those are things, though, he could have spoke about that would have probably gave him some kind of leniency in the sentencing if he would have come out and spoke about it. But obviously, he got enough love and respect for his mother that he don't even want to shame her to even speak about it in that way, if that is true and if that is the case. And so we don't know that might be something that he is really taking accountability for. Queen Keish, like, he might really be taking accountability for, well, I know my mom did this to make ends meet. You hear him in the letter saying, my mom worked 3 jobs. He didn't say what those jobs were, but my mom worked 3 jobs in order to make sure that I could be successful, to make sure I had, to make sure that we weren't living in squalor, right? And so it is something about him that does appreciate that. And so he might know that, wait, some of this stuff I got from seeing some stuff she was involved in, but guess what? I'm a grown man. And in that respect, that might be the only thing he might be taking accountability for in the situation, is that he knows at the end of the day, his mother was doing what she thought was best for them at the time. And she might have been completely wrong, but and what she was doing could have been completely not right morally. But he might know that did not mean that I had to indulge in these things. I could have got the proper help, the proper attention to try to deal with me not being so overly obsessed with this type of lifestyle. You said, well, take accountability for the one charge a girl. Exactly, that's what I'm saying, Queen Keish. I think he would have been much better off if he would have taken accountability for that man at charge. And I think that judge would have looked at things different. And I think that judge tried to give him a warning that this is what you need to do. But all the way up until today, he is still not doing that. And like I said, that is our legal system. That is what our legal system teaches people to do. But when the judge is coming up with sentencing, that is not all that they have to consider. And so how you accept your accountability for what you did do, how you are placing blame. Why in your sentencing documents are you worried about who else was charged? That ain't nothing. That's not required in order to be charged with a crime, that somebody got to charge somebody else. So all of that is null and void. They are arguments that don't even make sense. They are arguments that even on the appeal level are not going to matter to anyone, because there's nothing saying that other people have to be charged in your crime. But this is something that they keep bringing up, constantly trying to shift blame everywhere and trying to come up with a justification for why he should get away with it, because they didn't go after the other people. Well, that's not required. So that's not even any arguments to waste time. But this is what his legal team has wasted time with, those arguments. So I don't know, you guys. You said you heard it from the friends. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know. But I just wanted to come on here real quick and talk to you guys about that. I got to run into the store because I got to grab something for Shuggy before I got to pick her up. I gotta pick her up in an hour, and I wanted to just touch base with y'all. I know I've been missing y'all. Hopefully I'll be able to try to come back to you guys. Probably not today because I had my granddaughter until I'm probably gonna have it till tomorrow morning. So, but for right now, I'm just supposed to just have her for late tonight. But more than likely, it's gonna be tomorrow morning because I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to stay up for whatever time that she's supposed to get picked up. So more than likely, I'm gonna have her into the morning. So I probably will not get to talk to you guys again on live until either tomorrow or after that. But I will try to post again my opinions and my thoughts. I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you, Queen Keish, Miller, Sir Miguel, Just V, for Cookie. Thank you for coming in and talking with me. I enjoyed our conversation today. I hope y'all got something from it. I got something from listening to y'all comments, definitely. And I look forward to hearing from y'all. Anybody else catching this on the replay, you can leave your comments, questions, suggestions in the comment section. I will read and respond to them. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, Just V.